Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Battlefield because some pretty massive news and a reveal for the next Battlefield game have already now come out in the last few hours, and basically I just want to talk about this because, as you guys probably know if you've watched my videos long term, I'm a pretty massive Battlefield fan, and I've really been looking forward to information on the new Battlefield game. I've been pretty heavily disappointed by the last few Battlefield releases, and there's been a lot of rumors throughout the industry over the last few months that Battlefield will be quote-unquote returning to its roots, and traditional Battlefield fans rejoice. We're finally back. So, are we finally back? Let's go ahead and see. So, like I said, lots of news to talk about today with the Battlefield franchise. The first thing I really want to talk about is the fact that apparently the folks over at EA, DICE, and whatnot have decided to combine their studios, I guess, for their best effort at making a new Battlefield game. So there is now the creation of Battlefield Studios, and this is involving several developer companies and whatnot. It involves Criterion, DICE, Ripple Effect, and Motive. These four studios will basically be the four that are spearheading Battlefield development going forward. Obviously, we all know who DICE is. They are already the people who have been behind Battlefield for pretty much all this time anyway. But almost in a way that like Call of Duty has done with Activision, where they've got Beanox, they've got Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, Raven. All these smaller studio groups basically combined together, working together on Call of Duty. That is now basically what has happened over at Battlefield. They've kind of just combined their resources and they'll all be working together. Now, this can be either a really good thing or a really bad thing. Obviously, the upside to something like this is by pooling all of your developers, all their talent, all their resources together, kind of unifying them in this way. It should open up the communication between the studios. It should open up, the collaboration between the studios where they can all kind of influence the game by adding their best strategy or whatever to it. But also at the same time, as we've seen in other video games, this can also be a bad thing where essentially these studios could trip over each other's feet. Maybe one studio has a design direction the other ones don't adhere to or don't want to respect. It can create some sort of internal division, maybe even hold the game's development up. Obviously, we can't really predict what's going to happen very accurately because, it's a not unprecedented move, but it's one that hasn't had enough time really to play out in front of us. We don't really know what all variables are at hand here. It's one of those things you just kind of have to hope for the best and obviously be in mind that the worst could still come too, but I'm gonna hope that this creation of Battlefield Studios is gonna actually do something good. Now, in the announcement today, we did also receive a few seconds of pre-alpha gameplay footage that were provided also. Now, in this footage, which I'll show here, it features boots on the ground, modern-based combat. This looks like it's taking place in the Middle East or something here. We have pretty typical modern-day guns from what we can see right now. Of course, this is only 14 seconds, I think, of pre-alpha gameplay. We're not really getting a whole ton of shit to go off of here, but 14 seconds of gameplay is enough to at least discern oh, okay, this is a modern setting Battlefield game. Boots on the ground. Looks pretty traditional, in comparison to not only other first-person shooters, but also Battlefield. Obviously, things are very much so subject to change. Pre-alpha is still pretty early on in the development phase, so who knows? We'll have to obviously wait until maybe closer to release to actually know for sure what we're getting out of this game, but just from what we can see there, looks pretty good, the graphics are pretty cool. Obviously, the destruction mechanics where, buildings are blowing up and shit, they look pretty good. It looks pretty okay, you know what I mean? I don't want to get too hyped up on it or too positive about it, and then next thing you know, they fucking release the game and we're on Mars fighting it's Infinite Warfare or something. But personally, for me, I like the more modern-based Battlefield games. Now, Battlefield 4 is my favorite Battlefield game ever, very narrowly followed by Battlefield 3. I know that's a lot of people's favorite. I also really liked Battlefield 1, even though it was a World War I game, and it was, set in the past, obviously. But for me personally, I don't really want, the futuristic shit. I don't want what basically the last few Battlefield games have suffered from many different problems. Not necessarily the futuristic shit, because like Battlefield 5 was a World War II game, but I think that the problem has been in Battlefield, they've been straying too far away from what makes Battlefield, right? When I play Battlefield, my anticipation, I'm playing a not necessarily more realistic shooter than Call of Duty, but I want there to be the potential for, like people to follow the roles that they're playing, for the maps and the objectives to actually matter, for it to be large scale, great combat where I can play with my friends or play solo. I want a great campaign, you know what I mean? I don't really want like the shit that like Battlefield 2042, they tried to change things up too much. They changed the way that like all of the classes and shit worked right off the rip. The maps weren't as good in my opinion. It wasn't for me, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of other people shared that sentiment. I will say, from what I've heard and from what I understand, over the years, Battlefield 2042 has been updated significantly. It has gotten better according to many people, but for me personally, I was already checked out years ago. I haven't played the game in a long time. I probably will never pick it back up, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that the mistakes that have been made in the last couple of Battlefield games can finally be put to the past, and from what we see, their attempt to return to a more traditional Battlefield experience where you just load in, you blow shit up, you have fun with your friends, and you just kick ass. I will say it looks promising. Now, in terms of like a release date, we don't know anything. It's not like, November 2025. We don't know. We don't know anything yet. With it being pre-alpha gameplay, I have to assume that any sort of like actual release is pretty distant, probably I don't think coming out this year. If it does come out this year, maybe the very end, more of like that holiday season. Even then, I think that would be pushing it. For me personally, I'm all for take your time on this one. Like I said, I've already kind of checked out of Battlefield with the release of 2042. You guys are in no rush when it comes to me. I want the best Battlefield experience possible. And I think that if Battlefield actually can nail this, it will be huge for the franchise, because there's a lot of first-person shooter fans like myself who we really have no first-person shooter game to actually rely on playing right now. I mean, Call of Duty is probably, in the last couple of years, in the worst state that I've ever seen any major game franchise go into. It's to the point where the game is actually unplayable, you know what I mean? It's just not fun. So if Battlefield can actually come out and release something that can catch mine, and I'm assuming many other people's attention, I think there's a lot of possibility for EA/Battlefield to soak up some of those unclaimed FPS fans. Now, obviously, I don't want to be the guy who, like, for 10 years now, a lot of Battlefield fans have been, where it's, anytime a new Battlefield game even fucking gets announced and the developers start breathing into the microphone, people are like, oh, it's gonna overtake COD this year. Battlefield's gonna overtake COD. We've done it, guys. This is the year. We dethroned them. I don't want to be that guy, because it's probably never going to happen. But also another thing, I don't know if this is, a unpopular opinion or whatever. Please spare the bullshit that everybody else has been doing when it comes to this game, man. I mean, like, I don't want a fucking battle royale mode. Once again, I don't know if I'm in the minority when it comes to that opinion here, but I do not give a fuck about a Battlefield battle royale. I'm not gonna play it. I don't want to play it. The only battle royale that I will even consider at this point is Fortnite OG. That's literally all that there is. In my mind, there is no other battle royale game. I'm cool on that. I think I can speak for many people. We're good on that, lil bro. Just go ahead and give us a fucking good Battlefield multiplayer campaign game. And I mean a campaign that's actually gritty, where some shit actually goes down, people are getting fucked up, the stakes are high. I want a good story. I want a good storyline to go along with this game. And I think that the modern setting is perfect for it, because there's so many different dynamics and things that you could do, at least if you're not scared to like actually tell a fucking story, you know what I mean? But I don't want a battle royale. Personally, I could give a fuck less about the whole battle pass routine and whatnot. I just want a game where if you're gonna bring new content, you're gonna make it quote unquote live service, give us new maps. Give us new weapons. Give us new factions. Something like that, right? I don't give a fuck about, oh, well, we're gonna bring Battle Royale, or, oh, Season 2 of Battlefield, brah. There's gonna be the new rainbow fucking uwu kawaii skin. Like, no one really wants that, I feel like, in Battlefield. I think Call of Duty's got the goofy skins and shit locked down, When it comes to Battlefield, like I said, I don't want to say more realistic, because it's not like Battlefield is fucking Arma or some sort of milsim like that, but I would prefer for it to actually stay somewhat based in reality and like grounded in what's going on in that time period. I mean, when you look at footage of Russia and Ukraine or whatever, you're not seeing fucking anime characters running across, you know, and fucking getting blown up by drones and shit. So like, in my opinion, man, keep that shit military based. Keep that shit actually like a gritty Battlefield experience, and you'll have me on board. I mean, that's really all it takes. It's not like Battlefield is a hard concept to master or anything here. Now, another good piece of news in this entire thing, I will say, Vince Zampella is now basically the overseer of Battlefield or whatever. He's overseeing all of the production for the game. Apparently, they also brought in an ex-Call of Duty person to like be the general manager or whatever for the franchise. That could be good or bad because, I mean, like I said, you've seen the direction Call of Duty's gone in the last decade. It's one of those things where it could go really good or it could just be like fucking terrible and it could just tank any goodwill the franchise has. But to kind of wrap all this up, I will say, at least for me, right, personally, once again, I assume many of you feel the same way when I say this, but to me, this is pretty much Battlefield's last chance to really pull me in here, you know? Like I said, Battlefield 1 for me was the last great Battlefield game that I like thoroughly enjoyed, will actively revisit from time to time and play. Was not a fan of Battlefield 5, did not enjoy it, definitely wasn't a fan of 2042 when it came out. So it's almost like baseball to me at this point, right? We're on strike 2. You're 0 for 2, you're in the hole, you gotta fucking tighten up, get the bat across the plate, keep a good eye on what pitch is coming. Don't strike the fuck out, man, because I'm sorry, like, you've already fucked up in World War II, you've already fucked up in a futuristic setting. If you fuck it up in a modern environment for me, I really think Battlefield might be done, at least for me. So not to basically put all the chips in on this one final Battlefield release or whatever for me, but I'm just kind of tired of Battlefield releasing. They're promising like, oh, this is the one for the fans. This is the one you're gonna fucking love. We've went back to our roots. And then like Call of Duty, pretty typically, when the game comes out, it's nothing like what the OG fans actually wanted. It's not what we were expecting, and we end up abandoning it, right? I don't want to do that again. I don't think other people want to do that again, so I'm gonna try and remain positive. I'm gonna try and be optimistic, no pun intended, right? That they will actually do good with this Battlefield release, but I mean, everything looks decent so far, but that's happened to us before, so cautiously optimistic. But basically, that's the news with Battlefield. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus talking about Battlefield and signing out.